Join me as I set up my bullet journal for February in a magical, mystical theme. Hello to all you wonderful and lovely people. My name is Seb Clark. Welcome to those of you who are new to the channel, and a warm welcome to those of you who have stopped by before. I wanted to step away from the conventional February themes this year, so no Valentine's or floral related themes. I used my word of the year, which is manifest, as inspiration, and really wanted to do a mystical, magical theme for this February. So grab a brew and let's get started. If you're interested, I am working in a B5 dotted notebook from Notebook Therapy. As always, I will be listing in the description below all the materials that I used in this video. For my cover page, I'm creating a simplified hand holding a crystal ball or sphere. I was kind of going for almost like a tattoo style. I'm using 4 pages to create my cover page. I'm drawing the hand on the 4th page, and then you'll see shortly that I flip back a page and create a windowed frame for this design. If you don't fancy using up 2 double pages for your cover page, or aren't that confident using a craft knife and so on, you could always just draw the frame around the hand on the same page. The pens that I'm using for all my line work are 0.3 and 0.1 black fineliner pens from Unipin. Once I've finished drawing the outlines, I am going to use a lot of dot work to create shading on my design. I haven't really used this technique much in my creations before. Naively, I thought it would make adding shading a lot more of a speedier process. However, I now know that this is not the case and is quite time consuming. Not so much with this design in particular, but you will see what I mean later on in the video. Drawing the hand on its own and then cutting it off at the wrist with nothing at the bottom seemed a little bit odd to me, and it definitely needed something. So I'm adding this little droplet bracelet style cuff thing at the bottom of the hand to finish off the design nicely. When I had the idea of doing this theme pop into my head, I set myself the challenge this month of not using watercolours at all, and within 15 minutes into the cover page, I failed. I felt like the crystal ball needed to be darker in contrast to the hand, and pen lines when colouring in bigger areas kind of freak me out. It just seemed a lot quicker to use paint as well, and furthermore, it seems like I have a bit of thing for using Payne's grey in most of my creations. So I scrapped that idea, and tentatively I start to add a light wash first, but then I soon decided it would look much better if I painted the orb a lot more darker. The light wash just was not doing it for me. So I started using a lot less diluted paint on my brush and ended up giving the ball a couple of coats of paint, making sure to allow that the first coat is completely dry before adding another wash. The brand of watercolour I'm using is by Daniel Smith. Now, they aren't cheap. I think I paid around £6 to £8 for a 5mm tiny tube, and that was the cheapest price I could find at the time. However, all the paints are highly pigmented, and a little bit goes a very long way. I've had this tube for almost 2 years now, and I reckon I will have to replenish it in a few months. And as I've already said, I use this a lot. Whilst the paint is drying, I now add my dot shading to the nails and the cuff of the hand, and then I add a little bit to the hand itself. For the frame part of the cover page, I wanted the top section of the page to be like a night sky, so I mask off using some washi tape, the top section to create a border, and then give a couple of washes of Payne's grey. I did actually go a little bit water heavy when it came to adding the wash of my paint, so the page did buckle slightly. So if you want to make sure that that doesn't happen as much, then make sure that you blot your brush on some kitchen towel before you add your wash. Honestly, I don't know why I didn't do enough of that myself. Whilst the paint was drying, I could set to work by adding some flowers and leaves to the bottom half of my page. I was aiming to create kind of like old school style tattoo roses, so it's in keeping with the hand and the crystal ball. I drew these style of flowers by beginning drawing tapered petals, 5 to make a star shape, and then drew wider squished irregular petals surrounding the star. The leaves are your basic leaf shape with a slightly serrated edge to them. And then the veining of the leaves I'm keeping really simple, but adding lots of small line work too once I've drawn the basic image to create texture and shading. I wanted clouds to be the main element that made the frame. These were achieved by making lots of dots instead of continuous line work. And I made the dots a lot closer together at the edge of the cloud and then spaced them a little further apart as I sort of shaded away from that edge. Once I had finished with the clouds, which took ages but was also pretty meditative, I removed all the washi tape from the top of the page and drew the outlines of the main sparkles that I am then going to cut around with a craft knife. I seem to have misplaced my cutting mat, so I improvised by using some thick cardboard that was at the back of a watercolour paper pad and carefully began cutting around the edges of my design. With the middle bit now removed, I could see the design as a whole, and I thought that the leaves needed a quick wash of paint to help highlight the flowers and make everything a bit more cohesive. It just looked a little bit flat in my opinion. I can't handle having empty pages in my notebook, it sort of does my head in, so I thought it would be a good idea to add a little quote to the page where there's currently nothing on. Because my theme is inspired by my word of the year manifest, I thought a little manifestation quote would be a nice addition. I came across this quote by Theodore Roosevelt that seemed quite fitting, and it's "Believe you can and you're halfway there." With the quote finished, I then used my black fineliner to add some more sparkles on the white part of my design. I then get out a white gel pen and add the title of February to the painted part of the frame, and then once I've done that I add some sparkles and diamondy sort of shapes to the painted bit, and then that's my cover page done. And now it's on to my calendar page. I'm starting to realise for me that when I do a double page spread for my calendar page, that ends up kind of being like a lot of wasted space. I don't need to have it as a double page because my life isn't that exciting that I need to have that much space. So for this month I'm going to do a much smaller calendar and then have a list of my important dates underneath. My calendar is 17 boxes down by 21 across. So each box for the days are 3 by 3. Now I never use a ruler, but I really messed up the lines at the top of my calendar. So to rectify that, I added a strip of black to the top, and then I'm going to use white gel pen to add the days of the week. I then add the dates to my calendar. I almost forgot to stop at 28, but luckily I remembered just in time and didn't ruin anything. To add some prettiness to my calendar page, firstly I added the title of February with a Japanese calligraphy pen that I need to practice with a lot more. Sadly, neat handwriting and typography are not my forte, but you know, with a bit of practice hopefully that will improve. To surround my title, I want to add a lot of leaves that are the same style of leaves that I used on my cover page. And then also some of those diamond-shaped sparkles again, and a few little tiny crescent moons. And as I said before, I add a little section for my important dates for the month. I've got a couple of my kids' birthdays this month, and then there's In Bulk and obviously Valentine's Day. And I thought it needed a little bit of something surrounding the calendar, but not something that would be too busy. So I decided to add some of the clouds I'd used on my cover page to surround my calendar. And to make the clouds pop out the page a little bit more, I then added a wash of Payne's grey and to the title of my important dates, and then I thought the leaves needed it too. Next up, I am doing a gratitude page. Last month I did a line a day, which was very similar to what I'm doing now. But then I noticed if I was having a bad day or not a particularly great day, I was just focusing on the negative. So I thought maybe a gratitude list instead might be a bit more of a healthier mindset for me to get into. And having a more healthier and positive outlook on life is definitely important when it comes to manifesting. So I added a light wash for every odd dated line, and then now I'm adding a little journal at the bottom of my page. To decorate the front and back of my little book, I am adding a moon and a sun to keep in line with the whole mystical theme. And then once I've finished doing my little journal, I am going to have some leaves surrounding it and sparkles coming off of the pages. Now I have a bit of confession to make. I haven't actually really done a gratitude list as such before in one of my spreads, so I'd be interested to know from you guys if you use them. Do you think that they were useful to you to sort of help you be more positive in general? Or did you just find them kind of like as a mindfulness thing that, it helps you refocus your brain into seeing the positives even when you're surrounded by a lot of negative stuff? So yeah, please let me know. I am genuinely interested if you have found it to be a useful thing to have in your journal. So after titling my page with gratitude, I then add some sparkles again, and yeah, I think that's pretty much it for this spread. I didn't want to go too much over the top with any decoration on this page. Sometimes less is more, but yeah, I add a wash of paint to gratitude, and then I think off camera I added a couple little stamps which were like a lunar moth, and that's pretty much it. So now I'm on to my sleep trackers. Lately I have been feeling incredibly tired, like exhausted all of the time, and I don't know if it's my age, lifestyle, stress levels, or mental health, or all of the above, but I'm trying to be more mindful of the causes and the effects. Until now I've just done like a little graph where it sort of indicates how much sleep I've had at night, but not really about what time I'm going to sleep and what time I'm waking up, or how many times I've been woken up. So for this graph I am putting the days of the month along the bottom, and then on the vertical axis I have put from 8 p.m. through to 10 a.m. so I can track when I get to bed, when I wake up, and how long I've slept in one graph. At the bottom of this spread I am adding a crystal and then decorating it with some flowers and leaves. And then at the top of the crystal I'm painting a moon and then a quote from the Dalai Lama, which is "Sleep is the best meditation." I know this is something that I haven't mentioned on my channel before, but I have bipolar type 2, and so I need to be mindful of triggers and try to maintain healthy sleep patterns, which if not could trigger a mood episode or be a sign of an impending mood episode. Hopefully tracking my sleep patterns a bit more extensively will help me realise what I can improve on and what I can work on, for instance having a healthier bedtime routine for myself. I'm absolutely awful at going to bed late, even though I know the kids are going to be waking me up at 7, which is ridiculous, and so I need to stop that, and hopefully this will give me the kick up the bum that I need. I added a new habit tracker last month, which was bed before 12 a.m, and having that there as a visual reminder that I need to get to bed at an earlier time actually did help a little bit. It may have only been 7 times, but any progress is still progress, right? Next to the crystal, I'm adding a table so that I can track how many times I've been disturbed in the night, because I have 2 toddlers that still love to wake up in the middle of the night, bless them. So on my table, I'm going to have a column for the date, a column for how many times I've been disturbed, and then out of 10, how I feel when I wake up in the morning. Due to the lack of space left on this page, and I didn't really want to do a double spread just for sleep trackers, so to get around this, I ended up doing 6 columns instead of 3, and then it being a long table. So on the first column, I do from the 1st to the 14th, and then the next 2 columns are the ones that I want to gather the information on, and then the 4th one is from the 15th to the 28th, and then the same process again. To finish off the sleep tracker page, wherever I thought looked a bit empty, I added either leaves or some more of those dotted clouds or some more twinkly sparkles. With regards to my mood trackers, usually I do them over a double spread, but as I wanted them on the adjacent page to my sleep trackers, it seemed to make sense being able to reference them both easily, and then I can see if there's any correlation between the two. I didn't think that that would be as achievable if I had to keep turning over pages to make any comparisons, and everything now will all be in the same place for me to see. To go with my theme, I decided to use crystals, so I'm drawing 28 simplistic crystal doodles of various shapes and sizes. I think I should just mention, if you suddenly notice that I'm starting to sound a bit like Patty and Selma out of The Simpsons, apologies for that. I am recording my voiceover over the span of 2 days. And yesterday I felt fine, but today I've woken up feeling really crappy and it's really affecting my throat. But anyway, we must persevere, and back to my crystals. I made sure to draw the crystals in various shapes and sizes so that they don't end up looking all samey. So I added some with foliage tied to them and then some with flowers. Then I label them from 1 to 28 and fill in any sort of empty gaps with lots of foliage and sparkles, just to make the overall page look a little bit more magical and more aesthetically pleasing. With regards to colouring the crystals in throughout the month to reflect my mood, because the only colour that I've used throughout these themes so far have been the Payne's Grey, that is what I'm going to be using to colour these crystals in. I'm tracking 5 moods, from feeling sad and stressed to excited and happy. I'm going to use an incredibly dark grey to reflect if I feel really sad, and then each subsequent shade for each mood that I'm tracking is going to get lighter until it's almost a very light wash for if I'm feeling happy. I ended up adding a little bit of line shading to each crystal. It's not necessary as I'll be painting them in, but it's just something I couldn't help myself from doing. But overall, when I had drawn them all and I'd filled in any empty spaces, I thought the overall look of the page looked really pretty, and I can't wait to see what it looks like when they're all painted in. I do love the creative mood trackers, but as of next month I'm going to implement a graph to track my morning moods and my evening moods, which can't really do so much with these creative ones, but I didn't think about that until after I'd set all my spread up and I was filming. So next up is my habit tracker page. I'm tracking 9 habits this month. So that I don't end up going through a notebook too quickly, I'm going to do these on a single page spread. So I'm using small tracker calendars so that I can fit all 9 on one page. They're 7 boxes across by 5 down, and so it's 1 box for each day. At the top of the page, where I am doing my title of habit trackers, I've done a little watercolour tree, and because I haven't done any splashes of paint yet this month, I added a few of those too. After writing the title, I do go back over the tree once more, and just to give it a bit more depth because it ended up looking a little bit flat once it was dry. The habits that I'm tracking this month are reading, creating and exercising. Since getting Dave, my new dog, it's something that I have definitely been doing more of, so I'm pretty pleased with myself for that. Watering my plants, meditating, going to bed before 12 AM, vitamins, dog training and manifesting. So there was a bit of a blank space at the bottom of the page, so I thought I'd do a little design of another hand. I also gave a light wash of grey to my habit tracker calendars. Going back to the hand at the bottom of the page, like always I drew it out in pencil first and then went over it with a fineliner pen. I don't know why I didn't notice when I drew it out in pencil first, but then when I finished everything I realised how off-centred it was, and that really irked me. But there's nothing I can do about that now, and I did try to fill out the design with a lot of leaves so that it kind of looked a little bit more centred. So I tried to balance it out by adding lots of foliage and leaves so that the design did cover the centre of the page even though the hand was off. You'll see what I mean when you see the end result. Another really annoying thing happened as well is on the other page I did a brain dump and I forgot to hit record for the whole duration of me drawing it. I was so peed off and annoyed with myself, but you will still get to see it at the end of the video. But now on to my first weekly. I start off my weeklies with drawing out 5 columns for my dailies. They are 10 boxes across by 27 down, giving me lots of space to work with throughout the first week. And I've left a space of 2 boxes between each column. So at the top of each of the columns I am going 3 boxes down, which then I'm going to fill in with a black brush pen for speed, which would have taken a lot longer if I'd used my fineliner pen. But once those little boxes are all filled in, I then use a Uniball white gel pen and add the days and the dates of the week. I'll be honest with you, I didn't really know exactly what I was going to do for my first weekly setup and just kind of winged it. The only things that I did know that I was going to do is obviously keep it in theme with the rest of the month and keep it monochrome. Usually I know exactly what I'm going to do and I draw it all out in pencil first before I make everything final. But this time I thought it'd be quite interesting if I did a little experiment and let it all happen organically. And I thought it'd be interesting to see what I end up manifesting for my first weekly spread. So I added the title of February and the number of the week, and then these little moon phases at the top. And then, for some reason unbeknownst to me, I started drawing circles behind my column. Maybe it was to do with the fact that I'd just drawn the moon phases. I don't actually know, and I didn't know at the time what I was going to do with them once I had done them. And even though I find trying to draw perfect circles a major headache, I then add a few more larger ones. Whilst I was deciding on what I was going to do with the choices that I've made, I added the days and the dates of the week. And then I thought, well, you know, I've done a lot of sparkles and things like that, so it may be a good idea to add them to the big circle that I've drawn. So I just start randomly filling it all in with lots of sparkles and stars, and I started to like how it was all looking. I just kept adding these little doodles until I thought it looked decorated enough without being too busy. And then I thought about adding some more of the dotted clouds that I've done throughout my spreads, which then led me to believe that it was a good idea to fill in the middle circle with dot shading. I did end up liking how it turned out. I wasn't overjoyed with how long it took me and how much my wrist ended up feeling after I'd finally finished. It ended up being a lengthy setup to create, but I'm really happy with how it all turned out and I'm loving all the magical witchy vibes at the moment. More importantly though is what you lovely lot think. I know I did a witchy lunar theme for my 2023 setup and I don't want to overkill too much of the witchy vibes, so let me know if I'm overdoing it or if you're enjoying these kind of spreads, or if you have any suggestions at all of what you would like me to do in the future. Let me know in the comment section below. To mix it up a little bit, I do have something completely different in mind for my March theme. Also, if you guys could let me know if you're interested in seeing me set up any of my weeklies for the rest of this month. I want to make sure that I'm creating content that you guys enjoy watching, and without your input and suggestions, I'm not going to know if I'm achieving this goal or not. Aside from my bullet journal, I also have a book of shadows and a book of mirrors, so if you're interested in seeing anything that I do with those, then also let me know about that. Coming up now is the brain dump page that I stupidly forgot to record. But yeah, I was really happy with it and I'm so annoyed that I couldn't share the process of creating it with you. I don't know what's happening with my brain at the moment, but these silly mistakes are becoming a bit of a regular occurrence. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already and would like to support my channel, then please hit that subscribe button and notification bell so that you'll be notified on future content. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.